Well, hello, Colorado. Happy May to you all. Hopefully, got everything working right on here on my little slideshow. So I've got your 2021 May market update, and it's definitely been an exciting time. I swear, everywhere I go, it's all about real estate. How's the market? What's going on? Are we going to have a crash? And real estate, real estate, real estate. And I think it's fun. I love talking about it, and it's fun to get people's perspectives and opinions on things. So the main driver of the housing shortfall right now has been the long-term decline in the construction of single-family homes. We had a huge housing crash at the end of the last decade, and a lot of builders went out of business, went bankrupt, and we're a little shell-shocked, and we're still kind of recovering from that. This slide I'm going to show you, this graph on the next page, will illustrate that a little bit. So single-family housing units completed by decade. So you can see that we've had around 10 million every decade, including 12 million in the last decade. And in the current decade, we've only had 6.5 million single-family housing units completed. So we're still struggling to keep up with the demand, and we've had a long run of house price appreciation. We are, as I mentioned, everyone's talking about when's the next housing crash going to be. Interesting to see that people searching for that in Google increased by almost 2,500% in the past month. So it's definitely on everybody's mind. Inventory levels. So this is really interesting. Looking back in December, the green is 2020. In this case, that's 2019. The orange is 2021. Let's just look at January, February, March. So we had 1.2 million homes for sale in January, 1.2, up to 1.3 in March 2020. This year we've been sitting at 900,000 or below, so almost 400,000 less homes for sale this year than we had last year. But along with that, demand is super strong, and buyers are snatching up listings as quickly as they hit the MLS. Days on market is, I wanted to show you another graph here, so bear with me. We're going to look right at Denver, the Denver metro market. So April active listings this year, 4,700. Last year, over 15,000 homes for sale at this time in April. So that's almost 70% fewer homes for sale this year than last year. That's pretty dramatic. Now let's talk about what's going to happen. How's this going to change? When is the U.S. housing inventory going to grow again? Here are some predictions from economists. So 10% think that we're going to get some improvement in the first half of 2021. The majority, 43%, feel like we're going to have some relief coming in the last half of 2021. We'll see. 26% tend to think that it's going to be the first half of 2022, 12% second half of 2022, and 9% 2023 or later. If I had to guess, I'm thinking it's going to be more in 2022 than in 2021, so we'll see. The 5 top reasons that people are planning to sell their home this year. So number 1, they feel that their home no longer meets their needs. They can make a profit in the current market. Number 2. Number 3, they want a smaller house, less work. I just helped some really nice folks sell their beautiful property with a great big yard and get into a smaller place. So we have some of that going on. Number 4, we want to live closer to family, and as we all know, with the pandemic, that shifted a lot of things for people. People started realizing they didn't have to live and work in the big city. They could work from home and they could live wherever they wanted to. So we're seeing some shifting around the country with that. Number 5, a lot of people just want different features and amenities now that they're spending more time at home. This graph is also very interesting. Prospective home buyers planning to buy a home in the next 12 months. So are people going to start backing off and waiting? Well, not according to this. A good percentage of people are still planning to buy homes. So So 16% of American adults are considering the purchase of a home in the next 12 months, according to the NAHB's Housing Trends Report for the first quarter of 2021. And that's 6 points higher than what it was a year ago. So last year, 10%, this year, 16%. So again, we're not just dealing with a lack of inventory, we're also looking at a surge in buyer demand. A lot of millennials are now buying homes, buying their first homes. This shows you the average profit for home sellers. It's increased by 26% in the last year. So, and I want to show you another local graph. This is the median closed price in the Denver metro area. So if you look back at 2020, it was at $425, the median closed price of a home in the metro Denver area. This year, we're at $504, so we're up almost 19% over last year, almost 20%. I also want to take a quick minute to look at the days on market because it's just so interesting to see that. Median days in MLS. So last year, 2 years ago, we were at 9 days on the market, median days in MLS. Last year, 6. This year, 4. How low can you go? It's like a game of limbo. Larry Yoon is a very respected economist at the National Association of Realtors. I always love to hear what he has to say. And he says this is not a bubble. This is simply a lack of supply. And I would add to that an increased amount of buyers looking for homes. So lack of supply, a surge in buyer demand. Forbearance. So we've heard a little bit about forbearance. The number of mortgages that are in active forbearance has been on a steady decline since last year in May. It was up at 4.76 million, and now we're down at 2.3 million people are actively in forbearance, and that number has remained steady for the last 3 weeks. As people are exiting forbearance, 47% of them were paid in full on their forbearance amount. 36% worked out some sort of a repayment plan with their mortgage company, and 16% were still in trouble. 1.6% up here ended up going into a repayment plan, short sales, or deed in lieu, where you basically sign everything over to the bank. So we still have some issues going on with that, and that'll be interesting to see how that changed. This is the trend. So paid in full since January, that number has gone down just a little bit, from 52 to 47%. The number of people who have worked out a repayment plan, has gone up from 32 to 36%, so that's positive. And the number of people that are still in trouble with their forbearance, and this is a real issue for a lot of folks that got laid off, lost their job, haven't been able to make their payments. You know, we have people that have a ton of equity in their homes, but they may have a mortgage left on their home, or a HELOC that they pulled out because of the pandemic to pay their bills, and they can't pay those bills, and their forbearance is running out. So we do have some issues there, but hopefully with workout plans and with the amount of equity they have in their home, they'll be okay. I don't see any signs of any large number of foreclosures or short sales coming on the market. An interesting comment from Rick Sharga, the Vice President of Realty Track, one of the Vice Presidents. I think the math speaks for itself as to how well the forbearance program has worked. We often give the government a hard time and probably rightly so, for not doing a good job with things, but there are times when the government comes in and plays a pivotal, vital role to preventing disaster, and I think the forbearance program was definitely a great thing in preventing some larger economic issues. Consumers were more upbeat about their income prospects last month, and many appear to be eager to spend. The survey found that 8.9% of Americans plan to buy a home in the next 6 months, so that's a little bit different than the other numbers we're looking at, different study here. But that's encouraging to see that many people are planning to buy a home in the next 6 months. That's the biggest share That's the biggest percentage going back all the way to 1978. So very interesting from the Wall Street Journal. Mortgage rates, it's always good to keep an eye on that. These are the average numbers from January 2020 to today here in April. We got really, really low at the end of last year, beginning of this year. Now we're up just under 3%. And what are the interest rates projected to do? So according to projections, they are projected to rise. So you can see Fannie, Freddie, MBA, NAR, and then averages of all four. So slight increase in mortgage rates are projected, and that may be also part of the reason that there's such a huge demand right now, as people want to get in on those low rates. And again, this just shows what the actual rates have been since 2016. Three in the threes, we got up to the fours at one point, pretty high fours. Late 2018, we've been down pretty low, around in the high twos. But it looks like we're going to be heading up into the low to mid to high threes, perhaps, as we go further into 2022. Home sales forecasted to increase nicely in 2021. So looking ahead, we are expected to have, things are looking really good as far as home price appreciation, stability of the real estate market. We're not looking at any immediate housing crashes anytime soon in 2021 or 2022. That's just not expected. Not seeing any forecasts or any economic predictions along those lines at all. And lastly, to close out your update, I want to read this quote from Miyamoto Musashi, who is apparently a legendary Japanese swordsman and philosopher. Perception is strong and sight weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distanced view of close things. So what does that mean? It's easy to see things in hindsight, and it's not always easy to look ahead and see things clearly. And it's also easy to get emotional and to feel like it's impossible for this to continue. It's not sustainable. What's going to happen? There's going to be a crash. The sky is falling. But it's important to look at the numbers and not get too distracted or scared off by sensational headlines, and to look at the actual numbers of what's going on out there with inventory, with buyer demand, with why these things are happening, and what the economists and experts are saying. So thank you for watching this update. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to chat with you. Take care.